Good Thursday afternoon, Hail Stalkers. Lead meteorologist John Choquette here for our daily hail forecast, where we're going to talk pretty much all things hail and all things DFW today. We have quite a bit of hail expected for this afternoon, and we had a hell of a lot of hail yesterday. We had over 300 hail reports yesterday. We had some tornadoes as well. Unfortunately, it looks like some fairly significant tornadoes both in Tennessee and Alabama, but it was a long one. Storm started right at the beginning of the period with Kansas City and extended all the way to pretty much late at night. I think as of the last time I looked, we had 352 total hail reports, so I'll kind of go over everything that happened, where we had that hail, where we had those big hail maps, and the big story is already shifting to DFW. We could see some, as been tossed around, gorilla hail today, some real Texas-sized hail expected this afternoon, a pretty classic DFW ice machine looking setup here for this afternoon. So we'll break down the expectations, and then we're going to end that work week with a much quieter Friday. We've had a pretty long stretch of severe weather here the last week and a half or so. Looks like it shifts east to the East Coast tomorrow, and then we kind of take a breath of relief here for the weekend. I know the Met team here at Hail Tracers need a couple days to kind of calm down and reset before things take off again. So yesterday's storm reports, before I zoom it in, you know it's a busy day when I have the zoomed out image and you're just like, is it broken? It's like, no. We actually had quite a bit of severe weather. Starting off here back in where I grew up in Connecticut, we had surprisingly here up to golf ball size hail fell in northeastern parts of Connecticut, parts of Rhode Island. It looks like we got really close. I thought Martha's Vineyard was going to get popped with some good storms. So we had a bunch of hail there. That was a 2-star map. Then way off to the west, right along where we had the low pressure system that is basically triggering all this severe weather. We even had some hail, a couple storms in Iowa, and even way up here in far eastern sections of South Dakota. Then moving further south, this is how our day started yesterday. Again, right around 7 o'clock in the morning, we had a storm rip right across the center of Kansas City with up to golf ball size hail there. We also had all kinds of crazy stuff. So we started in Kansas City, and then Missouri popped off hard yesterday. So we got just south of Springfield. I thought there was going to be a high chance for some storms there. It was close. Nixa, one of the towns just to the south of Springfield, got absolutely pummeled. There was quite a bit of very large hail, up to that 4.5 inches, scattered across the I-44 corridor here in Missouri. The big storm that hit Festus right around lunchtime yesterday kind of killed the St. Louis risk for later on in the afternoon. We had some big storms down here in northeastern sections of Oklahoma, over by Joplin. We had storms over in the Fayetteville area. We had storms fire all the way down to just barely missing Dallas there. It's pretty much formed on top of McKinney and then moved off to the east. Had a tornado right along the Red River. And then, yes, Tennessee had a wild day yesterday. Tennessee, Kentucky, down by Huntsville, lots of hail, tornadoes. Thankfully, for the city of Nashville, we did not have a violent tornado move through Nashville. Obviously, that happened in 2020. Doesn't minimize any of the other tornadoes. Of course, we had tornadoes in and around the area, but as always, I try to take the wins when we can get them. And we had some hail and pretty strong, intense windbag situation here across the Charlotte and Columbia areas as well. So what does that all equate to? Well, we had 2 4-star maps. So one of them was that Kansas City storm and everything else that was in Missouri here. So we had Kansas City, that metro, Festus, Nixa, Hillsborough, Missouri. 4.5-inch hail was the biggest. And of course, since it was a pretty wide area that we're covering here, 318,000 homes. Again, that really big hail here south of Springfield, and then real pretty big hail here in the Festus area as well. And then the other 4-star map, this one was for Tennessee. Probably one of the better hailstorms, hail events that Tennessee's seen in a while. Clarksville especially got absolutely pummeled here. and then I don't know how to pronounce this word, Hohenwald, I guess, Parsons, Tennessee, 3-inch hail, and there was quite a bit of that very large hail. That 3-inch hail is even in the Clarksville area. 110,000 homes. Again, overall, this was a pretty active day for Tennessee, Middle Tennessee especially. Nashville, yeah, you got a little bit of quarters. Again, I think, honestly, I would take the little bit of quarters in Nashville versus you get 3-inch hail in Nashville, also have 4 tornadoes. So that's what we saw there. So what's happening right now? So overall, we have this storm system that has been causing all this severe weather. This is the L, the low pressure. The center of the storm system is here across sections of Illinois and Indiana, continuing to move off to the north and to the east. We got cold front draped all the way down across the Mississippi River Valley and Ohio River Valley. And I got a bunch of storms left over from last night and a stationary boundary layer here that will be the trigger for those storms in the Dallas area today. If we zoom in on what we have right now, you can even see that boundary basically paralleling I-20. And this is going to act as a train track for any storms that form this afternoon. We already see some storms forming here. We'll talk about that more in a moment. And it'll basically cause storms to ride along that train track. And so far it's looking like it is basically hanging around Dallas, which gives a very high chance that storms will move through that metroplex here in the next few hours. I think I have somewhere else here. Yeah, there we go. And off to the east, I think we have a confirmed tornado warning here in south central sections of Georgia. This is all a continuation of what happened last night, and these storms just, now that we're getting to that heating of the day, it's 1 o'clock here on the East Coast. You're getting those tornado warnings here along the southern edge of these storms. Got that tornado watch in effect, so there is still a chance for storms across the southern third of Georgia, and then it looks like we'll see some more storms form off to the west here in the deep south this evening as well. And overall, that brings it's 80 degrees here in Dallas. I believe the convective temperature, what was it again, Joey? Like 82 degrees was what we need for storms to happen, so we're getting mighty close, and that's why we're getting some storms already forming here off to the north and to the west, and that's just a signal of things to come in a little bit. So with that, we're just going to look at the radar here. It looks like we do have storms ongoing, so let's just go ahead. We're going to zoom in first right away. We got a storm moving pretty much into Wichita Falls right now. We'll start with this one since it is getting close to population. Let's see what it's warned for. Let's cue that warning. I know it's back behind for some reason I got it back behind the radar. It's warned for golf ball size hail. Any details in there, Joey, of was it observed or anything like that, or is it just radar indicated? Radar indicated. Okay, so radar indicated for up to golf ball size hail. Let's remove this warning. Let's see if it actually is ping pong balls right now in Wichita Falls. So let's quit. I think if you do the main query on the little thunderstorm, on the little hail icon here, it should say what the hail algorithm is showing here for Wichita Falls. Okay, so it's showing that 100% chance for severe hail, maximum hail size under that golf ball size, again, probably ping pong balls right now. Obviously, the city of Wichita Falls being impacted currently as we're doing the forecast here. Let's clear that out. Let's switch over to correlation coefficient and zoom in a little bit further into the Wichita Falls area, especially since we have the storm track kind of in the way. If you off to the right-hand side, you see all the options. If you get rid of storm tracks, it'll make this disappear for a minute. Find it? The little eyeball. It's going to be on the list of all the layers. If you can't find it, that's okay. Yeah, so either way, you see those lower correlation coefficients here. That is where likely that up to ping pong ball size hail is falling. On the southern end of town, there you go. Southern end of town here, there it is. You see it's a north split storm, so basically when storms split, you got the storm that moves to the right, that usually drops tornadoes, really big hail. Storms that split and move to the left, or typically race north, which this storm is, can produce some pretty big hail. So you have that lower correlation coefficient here. Doesn't look like a crazy high volume storm, crazy big hail, but it does have hail nonetheless here pretty much along these southern sections of Wichita Falls. That's moving north and east pretty quickly here. Let's go back to that reflectivity. Switch to reflectivity, and then we can query. It looks like we have, you've got a storm report that came in from this north split storm. I'm assuming that's going to be ping pong ball size hail based off of, nope, okay, 0.88. So again, I don't think this is going to be anything too crazy right now. The much more significant storm is down here to the south, right? getting close to Highway 281. So you got that golf ball report 10 miles northwest of Newcastle. And that's going to be this storm down here that is very likely is what caused that. So let's zero in on this one just to the west of Jacksboro here. Looks like a pretty intense looking storm. Does it still have the storm tracks up on this? Does it have the hail? Okay, it's showing some rotation. If you can click on it, it might tell us what the hail size. The algorithm's showing for the hail size. If not, that's okay. Yeah, so it's got big, this one's got much bigger hail marker. This is the right turner on this. So this storm, as it continues to move off to the east, northeast, it's warm for golf balls right now, heading generally towards Jacksboro. I would not be surprised if this thing latches on to one of the boundaries, just kind of hang out in the Dallas area, and then takes a hard turn to the right and goes down into the Metroplex. Happens pretty frequently, especially when there are boundaries in place. Storms like to ride where that moisture is really good. So we're going to have to keep a close eye on this storm. Looks like we got another report that came in here on the far western sides, southwestern sides of Wichita Falls. And let's see what we got in there. Yeah, 1 inch hail. So again, we're off to the races already. We got some storms happening. It's being mapped right now here across here at Hail Trace. So if we go further down south, let's zoom in here on Dallas specifically, or the Dallas-Fort Worth area specifically. We have, you can almost see it on radar, where we have that instability. We've got, looks like kind of a bit of a boundary here. We got that storm trying to go up. Again, the temperature we need to break the cap's 82. Not quite there yet. The storm's not quite getting to that. We have, looks like all this here is generally that instability and the boundary just kind of floating around here. And once the storm latches onto it, it's going to basically chug along like a train on a train track moving across the Dallas area. So that's generally what we're looking at right now overall. We'll obviously cover this a lot more as we get storms really to fire up more. Clearly, we've got activity already happening with Wichita Falls. Looks like a new warning issued going into southern Oklahoma, and even a storm trying to form over by Ardmore. And we have all those storms off to the east in Georgia as well. But I don't have the radar loaded up for that, so I'm not going to jump over there. So I think from here, we're going to move on to what are we going to expect in the next few hours. So first things first, significant hail model. I figure today is a good day to be using that. And as one may imagine on what expect to be a pretty significant hail day, it is lighting up pretty crazy here across the entirety of pretty much the Texas Triangle. That's at 1 o'clock, and then the notice the model shows supercells, and as the supercells swarm, it starts eating up all that potential energy basically to make it from being what could be hail to what ends up happening. So by 6 o'clock, it does show those storms and moving away, and the hail potential goes down Dallas because it happens. But notice off to the east here, even at 9 p.m., most of Louisiana, southern sections of Mississippi, including Jackson, and even further south towards Austin, Texas, all still have that potential for some pretty big hail. And as we move through the evening hours and into the overnight, it does show storms occurring, and then things start to reset here across Texas. So what does that look like for future radar? Well, first things first, let's look off to the east. We do have those storms going on across portions of Georgia. Got those tornado warnings already. And as we move through the rest of the afternoon, notice more supercells are going to form here pretty much from Montgomery Point south in Alabama and south of the squall line here in Georgia. Any of those could have tornadoes as well as hail, probably up to about golf ball size. By about 4 p.m., we're going to be getting to the east coast of Georgia. And as this pushes off the coast, notice we get to 6:30, we're at dinner time, new storms beginning to form here in Mississippi and into Alabama, and these will continue to evolve and become more numerous getting into those evening hours. And yes, it looks like for the meteorology team here, it's going to be another probably later night, as these storms are going to just kind of continue and possibly stay fairly isolated till about midnight, and then after that, we have another squall line that'll set the stage for Friday, honestly. So that's looking at for the southeast. We do have an outside chance for some storms here in the Ohio River Valley as well, near where that low pressure center is, the driver of all the severe weather we've been seeing this week. Could see some storms probably pretty isolated, very similar to what we saw in Iowa and parts of South Dakota yesterday, where only 2 or 3 storms go up and make some marginally severe hail. The only difference is it's a much wider area. Notice here by about 2:30, we have some storms in and around southwestern Ohio near the Indianapolis area. And then as we move even later into the afternoon, the peak heating here around dinner time, you have storms in West Virginia, Northern Virginia, and even over by the Washington, D.C. area. And this will begin to kind of wind down once the sun goes down and the hail threat goes down pretty significantly after about 8 or 9 o'clock. And then that's all she wrote for the risk there, so minimal risk there. And then the main meat and potatoes, the reason why probably most of you guys are watching is what are the models showing for the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex? Again, we have storms already ongoing, so this is more just kind of an idea of what to expect as this afternoon goes along and basic timeline for what you're expecting for storms. So by about 2 o'clock or so, looks like the cap is going to break off to the west, so these are not the storms that are already ongoing, but new storms. And by about 4 o'clock, look at that. The storm's basically riding along I-20 here and then moves pretty much right across the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. Granted, each run, kind of different, right? So we've had this particular run, we're having the storm kind of cutting across Tarrant County. Previous run had it cutting across this way, one going right across I-20. The basic idea is in and around the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex, you're going to see supercells move across, and then by this evening, after about 7 o'clock, everything moves south, and then the Austin area and Waco and everywhere else along I-35 have a risk for supercells as well, where, oh, there we go. I knew something would happen with getting new model runs loaded. I had pauses and stuff here, but it just didn't want to save, which is unfortunate. But point being, we had storms also moving through the Austin area this evening, a couple hours after Dallas-Fort Worth, and then by about 2 o'clock tomorrow, boom, or by 2 o'clock in the morning, it's all gone. It's all done here. Storms are very unlikely to make it to Houston, and really, San Antonio's chances are how far south does the cap break here in Texas. Models have been pretty consistent at keeping it north pretty much from Austin or probably about Austin, Texas points north. A couple do show an attempt at the cap breaking in San Antonio, so we'll have to keep a close eye on that. You're not ruling out that potential for hail by any means though. So what's that forecast, Matt? Max hail size today? Well, I made a little bit of a difference on our map just because we do get those bigger hailstones. Like yesterday, we went over 3.5 inch. So I figure we'll make the highest be softball plus, right? So 3.5 and larger. This is a classic huge instability day. And storm modes favoring supercells, which also favors much larger hail. So I'd say it's pretty likely we'll see some really big hail somewhere across the state of Texas today. And also, the tornado risk probably a little bit lower here in Texas as well. So what is that hail forecast for today? Well, it's a weird looking one, that's for sure. We have all that purple. Again, this is not too different from yesterday, where I had the purple pretty much along the I-35 corridor here in Texas and extending east as well, as some storms are expected to move into northern sections of Louisiana, pretty much along the I-20 corridor here for like Shreveport all the way east to Monroe, possibly even to Texarkana. And then a chance for more just isolated cells here up in the Ohio River Valley and down into the Carolinas. I'm keeping the hail sizes pretty low here in southern Georgia. Could a storm have up to golf balls? Maybe, but just because there's so much rain in the area, I would not expect hail that large. So this is what we're looking at for your risk areas. As you may imagine, based on what I talked about, low pretty much across the board here along the eastern seaboard and into the Ohio River Valley, Indianapolis, Columbus, D.C., Charleston, Richmond, Raleigh. You guys get the idea. Further to the south here, you have a moderate chance for Jackson, a moderate chance for Montgomery. Both of these are going to be later. This is going to be after 7 or 8 o'clock tonight. We could see those storms possibly in Montgomery area, even like very late in the overnight hours. And then finally, here's your risk area for the Texas, and I have extreme. So I got the highest risk level here for Dallas-Fort Worth for over tennis ball size hail. High risk for Austin. It's looking likely that we'll see storms in around the area, but then it cuts off really fast, right? So we have High risk Austin, low chances for San Antonio. So it's really going to be, where is that cap going to really keep the storms under control and not have too much going on? But if storms form, you could see some real big hail in San Antonio. Houston's kind of the same way, except instead of being really big hail, it's a dying storm going down I-45, may just kind of peter out and push some quarters, maybe on the far northern sections of Houston. Moderate chance to Shreveport. That moderate chance for Wichita Falls is turning into, it's hailing in Wichita Falls right now, but that was a last second addition. So what's that city forecast looking like for different areas here? So we got Jackson, Mississippi is my first one. We're going to kind of start with least likely to most likely. 9 p.m. to midnight for the Jackson area. Very large, could be up to tennis ball size hail if any isolated storms are really chugging along here as they move down I-20. Moderate chance for quarter size hail or larger, but low chance for that really large hail across Jackson, Mississippi. San Antonio, again, this is like the big reward, but really high risk of it not happening. If it does, it'd be between 6 and 9 p.m. If a storm does break the cap, it'll be big, but the chances are low. Again, it's really dependent on, can the storms break through that cap and survive to move through San Antonio? But if it does, it'll be really big hail today. Austin, Texas, a little bit different, 7 to 10 p.m. The hail size, I'm going to tell you right now, for the rest of things is going to be really big. Any isolated storms taking advantage of this environment today will see very large hail. I think there's a high chance that we see at least quarters in Austin, moderate chance of golf ball or larger, just because Austin isn't as spatially large as the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. It's pretty confined here within the hill country, so a moderate chance of that. And then finally here for Dallas-Fort Worth, this is the big money maker here, 1 to 7 p.m. So again, within the next hour or so is the absolute earliest we could see that happening. Again, we have storms already ongoing. They just have to get to the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex. I think it's almost a lock that someone in the Metroplex sees at least quarters today. I think it's a high chance if you're seeing quarters, you're going to see at least golf balls, and that max hail size could be giant hail this afternoon. So obviously, we'll be coming live here. We'll do any live coverage for any storms that happen this afternoon to this evening. Personally, I'm really got my fingers crossed, and I'm hoping that these storms move out before tip-off at 8:30 tonight for the Dallas Mavericks versus Thunder game. I'm go Thunder, but if not, we'll still try to do live coverage anyway. I'll just have probably have the game on my phone off to the side. So looking ahead to tomorrow, again, we're talking about all those storms that are going to be going overnight. By 7 a.m., they'll be once again in Georgia. Storms happening there, and this will move off the coast during the morning hours. We'll have more storms kind of lingering behind it here in the Florida Peninsula. And then some more storms, or not peninsula, the Panhandle, the other part of Florida. And then other storms are going to form in the afternoon hours. These could have pack a little bit more of a punch with hail across the Carolinas from about Raleigh, extending all the way south to maybe, what was it? So, not Savannah. I can't remember the name of the town. Georgia there by about 5 o'clock. And then everything pushes off the coast pretty much right at dark, with maybe some storms lingering in the Florida Peninsula by 11 p.m. tomorrow. Nothing too crazy, way different from what we've seen the last few days. So the hail forecast tomorrow is a lot more subdued, only up to golf ball size hail possible along the coastal Carolina region. Overall, from Pensacola to Jacksonville to Orlando to Macon, low chances for maybe some marginally severe hail. The best chances probably up by Raleigh, where I have a moderate chance there, and then a low chance for Charleston. But places like Columbia and Fayetteville and stuff could see up to that golf ball size hail for your Friday. So that's pretty much all I got for you guys today. Make sure you follow us on your social media platforms. You're watching us right now. If we have to go live for some storms, we'll be live on those platforms, okay? So make sure, keep your alerts on. If you have hail trace, you got those notifications. We send out a push notification when we go live. It takes a second to get there, but I usually babble on for a while, so you're able to tune in and see what's going on. Do those hail dances, I guess. If you're wanting some big-time storms, put in the comments what town you think will get big hail in the Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex today. Give us a call, 855-334-4245. If you're new for us, or you need a refresher or whatever it is, we're here to help. Email us at info@hailtrace.com or visit our website for more details, simply at hailtrace.com. Have a great rest of your day. If I don't see you, hopefully we will be back in the next couple hours here to do some live coverage, so we'll see you then.